welcome back to the shop. In today's video, we're going to show you an example of how to lay out your van water system. We'll show you a recommended path on how the water flows throughout your van so you get a better idea of how to tackle this project. If you have any question, please put those in the comments below and we'll be happy to answer those in a future video. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I have an interesting layout here for you guys, and I wanted to do this because sometimes when you're plumbing your water system, it can get really confusing, and one of the easiest ways to do it is just take the parts and literally lay it out and actually draw it out so you understand where everything's coming from. So we're finishing up the water system on the 2020 medium roof van. This is Thomas's van, and we are working our way from the water heater as well as the water pump all the way to the back of the van, where we're going to have our tank fill port, and then we're going to have our hot and cold mixer valve for our wash down station out there in the back. So these are all the parts we're going to need today to do the install. But I want to take some markers here and actually draw out how everything is going together and how the system works, because it can kind of get complicated when you're running hot and cold lines, as well as blending them into mixer valve. There's a couple of special fittings you're going to need, some adapter fittings, as well as all the 90 elbows and stuff like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I got some markers over here, color coded to try to help this make sense. So we're going to start over here, and we need to draw our imaginary hot water heater. So that is right here. All right, and then we got two ports on the hot water heater. We're going to have our port over here, which is going to be our hot water, and this is going out. Then the middle port, which that is cold water going in, and then our port back here. All right, so this first port is our hot water coming out. This second port, I messed this up. This is actually our, we'll color this in. This is our pressure relief valve. And then this port right here is our cold water going in. So we'll mark this our pressure relief valve. And so this valve is not going to be used, but we do have this tapped in there. So we'll go ahead and we will color this one red. And then we'll color our cold water in blue. Okay, so we have our hot water heater. We've got our hot coming out. This is our pressure relief valve, which needs to be plumbed, and we showed in the first video. And then we have our cold water in. And then over here, we have this is our pump. And the pump is coming out. So this is our water pump. Let's do water. All right. So we got a water pump. And then if we go up further, see how we can fit this in here. Let's move this over a little bit. This is our water tank. The water tank is being plumbed out. And the water tank goes into our water pump. So let's start where the water comes in, and then we'll get to the water pump. We'll go through the water pump going to its cold out to the mixer valve, and then we'll go to the water pump going into the hot water heater out the hot water side into the mixer valve. It's pretty much what we're going to accomplish today. So over here, we have the Aquor, A-Q-U-O-R. This is the really nice washdown system. It actually has, let me go over here and grab this. Comes in a really nice kit. And you may have seen this on a couple other YouTube channels, but Aquor makes the one where it has a self-sealing spring inside. So you would attach this to a garden hose or your RV water supply as your campground. Make sure you always attach your filter onto it. And then you're going to take this, and it has these threads, so when you squeeze and twist, it locks into place, it depresses the spring, and allows water to flow. A lot of people like these because when you go to disconnect it, it reseals and doesn't allow water to come back out. So it helps you reduce the amount of drips and stuff like that you get from filling your water tank. And so I'm pretty much going to indicate all this flow by either hot or cold. And obviously this is water coming in. So the water is going to come in the valve. And then we have a 90 that goes down. And the reason I'm using all these fittings is because later we'll show you that we've cut out a template. And on this template we'll be cutting out a hole for our water fill. We'll be cutting out a hole for our mixer valve. And then we'll be cutting out a hole on this back end to thread in our spray down hose. So we need these fittings because this piece of board is going to be like this, and we need a way for the tubes to get around and make their way to the water tank. So the water is going to come in, go through these 90s, and each one of these 90s is going to be based on how you need to move around your van in order to get the water to where it needs to go. We come down, we get two 90s, and then we have this special fitting right here. So this is a 1/2 inch fitting going from PEX-A to 1/2 inch. And this 1/2 inch is actually going to, we're going to use thread sealer, and we're going to take it and we're going to screw it into our fill port right here on the top of our water tank. So there's a fill port right here. As the water comes in and fills up our water tank, so you got the water filled up, it's filling up the tank. Then it's going to come through here, and it's going to make its way down into the water pump. Now we've already showed you this was a complicated run because we got that shelf, that pull-out shelf that is making this have to be a really weird jog. But remember, you need to know how many feet from this point to this point, how many feet that is, because the water pump that we have, the length can only be a max of 6 feet. So you're going to have a length of 6 feet, and that's the maximum length until this water pump can no longer function properly. What that means is it can't pull enough suction to get the water moving. So we got our water pump. and the water is taking the water from the tank, and now this is getting ready to move it into all of the other stuff that we need. So the first quick easy run that we have is it's going from the water pump and it is going directly into our hot water heater. So the pump is feeding the hot water heater heats it up, and then it goes out the hot water side. Not only is it coming out of the water pump and going down here, but now we need to branch off from this and start supplying our faucet. So over here, we're going to have the water line come off. It's going to go up. And I'm basically just showing you the flow. When we get to these fittings, it's going to be more accurate as far as where the water is actually going through the fittings. But it's going to come down through the water pump into the hot water heater. Then it's also going to come, so right here, for example, you would have a T. So it'd be like a PEX-A T. Then you would have a 90. And these aren't represented because they're already in the van in that last video we did. Then this is going to come up. We got another 90 right here. And you can see by drawing this out, you start to make your parts list. So we're going to go from this 90, and now we get into the fun part. So these two valves right here are going to be the valves that we use for our faucet. So depending on what faucet you have, this is too big for the table, obviously, so it's not on the table. But depending on what faucet you have, you're going to have a hot and cold water line. Some people just want a cold water tap. Others want hot and cold. So this and here is where you're going to attach your faucet. And so this is the faucet that goes in your kitchen galley. So just make a note that these two fittings are actually what is supplying hot and cold water to this. All right, next, the water is going to keep making its way, and we will have another T. So this T will actually be a continuous line, and it'll go into this valve. So now this valve is being supplied water going to our sink we just talked about. All right, next the water is going to continue because we need water to make its way to our wash down cold side. So it's going to come through, and then we got these fittings here because we got to make a jog. These fittings are actually, the water tank is located right here in the van. And so the lines are going above the water tank, then they're coming out the back of the water tank, going down, and then they're coming this way. The flow is going here, and then it's going into this first line of the rear washdown mixer valve. So we got to branch off to the water heater. That's the first place. Comes, branches off, goes into the sink, and then it comes, branches off, and goes to the washdown. And then from here, this end will actually just make its way into this mixer valve right here. So we'll just draw a line, we'll just come around, and that actually goes into the mixer valve. That is how the cold water system works on this van. Next up, we've got the hot water system. So the hot water system starts with the cold water entering the hot water tank. It's going to come out right here, and it's going to go into the first 90, and then it's going to travel this way, and then we're going to tee it off, and this is going to supply the hot water to our sink like we just talked about. Next, we're going to come over. Going to keep going down. We need water to get over here. And the hot water is going to make its way down these fittings. And this jog right here, it kind of mimics this one, but the reason we're doing this one is because we already have right here a way that we're getting around the tank. This part is going to take double the amount of fittings because we got to go another direction. So just keep drawing it out and it'll all make sense to you. So we got that, and then this is going to come over here. It's going to go into this fitting, jog over, and then here is where it's actually going to go under this piece of, this will be actually a piece of 1/4 inch plywood for the mounting surface. And these arrows are just to help you guys see the water flow direction. It's going to flow here, then it's going to go and flow all the way up. Once we make our connection here, now notice when you get these mixer valves, I think it's Scandivic is the company. It's really low profile. What's really nice is you can turn it off or on, and then you can twist for cold or hot. It's a really cool device. So you get these hoses and they're very tiny. So you can see, much smaller than like a normal kitchen faucet. So you're gonna have to adapt 1/2 inch to PEX-A on both of these. And then you're gonna have to, on the output, so you got cold in, you got hot in. So let's go ahead and draw. We got our hot water coming in here. Our cold and hot. And so cold and hot, and then this third valve is actually going to connect to this. And then this will be your main output that's mixed for your spray down shower. And then there's a final fitting right here. This is a 3/8 to 1/2 inch. So we're reducing, or we're taking 3/8 and we're increasing it to 1/2 inch, and that's allowing us to connect it to our wash down hose. All right, so we'll do one quick pass through this. Water comes in through the top. It goes and fills our tank up. Then we have maximum 6 feet. So the smaller you can make this line, the closer you can get your water pump to your water tank, the better for your water pump. To the water pump pressurizes it. It's going to go to the hot water heater. It's going to fill the hot water heater up. It's going to go over here. It's going to supply pressure to our sink in the kitchen galley. And it's also going to supply cold water to the side of our mixer valve. Then it's filling up. So the pressure is coming from the cold side. That's what pushes the hot water around. So this is the same pressure. So that'll get heated up, goes in here, branches off, hot water side of our kitchen, goes over here, branches off, makes it all the way back to our hot side for our mixer valve for the wash down, combines, and then goes to our spray down one. All right, guys, that's going to make it for, that'll be all for this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put those questions in the comments. Happy to answer that in a future video, and we'll see you guys in the next video.